What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ammo Box. Freedom Seeds, love that you came back. I wanted to take a little more entertainment into your face holes. We are here with a very special guest. First of all, let me say, go like, subscribe, and share because God knows we need it. Today, we're going to have a very special guest, man, near and dear to my heart, one of the co-founding original members of the Southern Oak Band, my man John West. Say hi, John.
How you doing, guys?
Solid cat. We've known each other for quite a while now, almost 6 years, right? 7 years.
7.
And we've
almost 8.
Yeah, and we've had a long journey, you know.
Yes.
In the music industry, as it were, you know, walking down the streets of paved gold, right? At least looking.
It's been amazing. It's been an amazing ride.
It has. It has.
Definitely not one that I expected, and very thankful for the accomplishments and looking forward to many more.
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. We've accomplished a lot of goals that we set out for ourselves, and that's a good thing. You know, I'm definitely excited to see where this year goes for sure. So, John is in my humble opinion, an expert guitar builder. He has built several of my he built a custom rig for me, which I'm going to show you right now because I think it bears showing. This I call the oh shit. This one I call the number one.
Yes.
This little beauty right here was he built for me from scratch. I bought a little hack guitar off of one of those cheap applications that you can buy cheap crap off of, and because I was actually gonna mess with it and build it and do something with it, and I decided, well, John does that, so let me give him an opportunity to see what he can do and do the kindness of your heart and the sweat of your brow, you created that beautiful Frankenstein monster, which has served its purpose very, very well.
And that's what was fun about that, too, because that was in my preemie time.
Right.
So that was in my learning curve of like, can I do that? Well, maybe I can. So
let's take a look, right?
Let's give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
And it fortunate enough, it came out amazing.
It came out, yeah, it really nice.
And it's led to many mm-hmm. more.
I'm super happy with it. It's explain what you did to it. Tell me what you did to it.
So, I mean, basically, you brought it to me. It was your typical, not to berate anything, but it was the lower end, $100 guitar,
mm-hmm. 40 actually, but whatever,
And it was like, well, what can we do with this? Because you've always been an awesome dear friend of mine, and it's like the least I could do, and since I became a guitar tech at Guitar Center about 2.5 years ago. And I've been fortunate enough to end up with a lot of extra parts.
Right.
And I ended up with the extra parts in regards to this guitar because I gutted a higher end Player Series guitar. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, let's do something special for Mike and let's put all these electronics into this guitar and set it up. And one of my only concerns with it was because of the type of wood that it's made with, that it might not have the resonance and sustain that some of the other electrics have, and as it turned out, it has done extremely well, and the electronics in it are incredible.
Yeah, and you did the pull pots.
Yeah, I did take the time to do some custom wiring, and because I had set up one of mine similar previous to it, and that when you pull up on one of the tone knobs, it will actually activate the neck pickup. And then when you pull up on the other tone knob, it'll actually split the humbucker. Mm-hmm. For those of you in layman terms that don't know what that means, it's just different voicings and basically gives that guitar the ability to lay a foundation in numerous different ways that a lot of your off-the-shelf guitars don't have the capability of.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed because you turned me onto that Headrush, that MX5 pedal. Which, if you guys haven't, if you're a guitarist and you're really tired of carrying around a bunch of pedals and you really want something that's extremely adequate and extremely versatile, pick up the MX5. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. But I ran it through that thing with all kinds of genre pedals, from the Allman Brothers kind of mix pack to the Stevie Ray Vaughan mix pack. When I say this, loosely, because this is what they're emulating with some of the pedal board setups they have, and it performed beautifully through from Purple Rain setup to Texas Blues setup. It performed magically through the whole spectrum. And all the different voicings you can get with all those different setups as well. The extra voice and splitting that humbucker made a huge difference when you're trying to get a specific breadth and depth and width in the noise. It makes a huge difference, and I am super thankful and super happy with that build, man. If you seriously check him out, Guitar Center over at Alliance. If you want one, call him up, hit him up. He's
well, and I'm going to use that as a segue in the fact that I'm in the process of building a new studio in the back of my house. I've already got 2 studios in the house, but I'm going to build a new studio in the back of the house, and I have a company called Lone Rock Media.
Yep.
And I'm going to use Lone Rock as a launching pad for Lone Rock guitars, and I'm going to start hand building guitars.
Heck yeah.
Out of this new shop in the back, and a lot of this is just the success of moving forward from Guitar Center. So,
right.
So you can catch me at Guitar Center at the moment, but probably within the next year to 2 years, then you'll have to find me through Lone Rock Media, and I got some great potential future builds coming up that are going to be the cat's meow.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm always impressed with the stuff that I find that you do, and because I've known you for so long, I can say this. You go into this guy's house and you see this like 3 walls full of guitars, all of which have been touched by him personally. That he's either built custom from pretty much ground up, or made little tweaks to existing platforms. And every one of them just sounds amazing. Every one of them sounds amazing. They all play phenomenally. The way you set up a guitar, and I'll be the first person to admit this as a crappy guitarist. I never had a guitar set up from the age of 17 when I got my first Yamaha F135, not even acoustic electric. It was just a straight up acoustic Yamaha $120 guitar that I got at Guitar Center, as a matter of fact. All the way up until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I bought my Martin to set it up. I had never played a setup guitar, and granted, I don't have a whole lot of variables to go off of here, but oh my God, the way that guitar plays now versus the way that it played, even it's a Martin, it played great out of the box. They do play pretty well.
And that would be is that the one sitting to my right, or is that the other one that I made for you?
That's the other one you made for me. That's my Koa. By the Martin, the other Martin, the wood Martin is over here in the box. I keep that one. I keep her kind of well protected. I've beaten her up. I've had her 3 years now, and I beat her up pretty good. She's a workhorse. But the difference was night and day. So if you're a guitar player and you have your favorite guitars and you want a good setup, check him out. He's definitely worth the time and energy if you're
because that's and to go on what you just said, part of the reason I became a tech was the fact that 3 years ago I didn't know the first thing about setting up a guitar, and I was always fighting with then this neck this, or it's always going out of tune, this and this, and there's always the well-known fact that on the Les Paul that keeping the G and the B string in tune is always an issue, and this, and so I decided, well, you know what, maybe I can figure something out, and I will not give away my secrets, but I did a lot of experimentation and found ways to set guitars up in such a manner that they're amazing. And I've been very fortunate in doing that. And I have a lot of folks that, it's to the point where I have people in Tennessee send brand new guitars to me.
I was going to say, you've got a hell of a following over there too. You've got a lot of people who come specifically for your setups and for your.
And it's been a great ride. It's awesome, to put that on top of playing music and writing music.
Right.
I couldn't ask for much more.
For sure.
But I was like you, 5 years ago, setup. What's that?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
And does it really make a difference? Yeah. And now. Man, I pick up a guitar, and the only thing that goes through my mind is, okay, I need to change this. I need to change this. I need to change this. Yeah. This needs to be fixed. This is broken. This ain't working. Now I won't even buy a factory guitar.
Right.
Because all I can do is look at what needs to be fixed. At
least not to play it anyway, right? Yeah. So, John, you've been around in the music industry for a while here in Tarrant County. Your first band was back in the 80s, right?
Oh, yeah. If I go all the way back to day one, I was in a band called Parallel Flow back in the early 80s. We did manage to play in Dallas a couple of times. But other than that, I ran around with a lot of different folks. I actually spent a lot of time at an old bar called Savvy's, which everybody from our time period will remember. And I used to run around with BP and Dimebag and a couple other folks back in those days. But back then, I really wasn't an artist. I was just a patron. I thought I could play guitar, and that follows through all the way up until roughly about 8 years ago.
Right.
And then I learned that I can't play guitar.
Right. Right. A little bit more serious of a venture, right? Right on. So what? And I love the way you tell the story. So I'm gonna ask you to tell it. So you and I met at the 50/50 Club, yes, on outside of Samson Park, over off of 199. 8 years ago. Yeah,
almost exactly 7 years ago. Because I think it was right before I went to work for Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Which kind of segues into a little story that I was going to share with y'all today, and that my musical journey started 10 years ago, as far as a true devotion to the industry. And I was a GM for a restaurant, and I decided that I was going to immerse myself back into the music industry to the most extreme I possibly could. And I've had a lot of experiences being a roadie and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But I made a 3-year plan to exit out of that particular line of work. And 7 years ago, I got my job at Guitar Center, and here I am 7 years later, and I'm about as deep into the music industry as you could possibly get.
Right.
So even though it started back in the 80s, it really, really didn't truly start until about 10 years ago.
Right on. Okay. And what brought you to the 50/50, that club? That fast forward 7 years
so
ago.
So that plays into what I'm saying, and the fact that I decided I wanted to get back into the music business.
Right.
And one of the things that I was fortunate enough to have in the 80s was I could walk into any bar and get invited on stage, even though I only know 3 chords. Right.
Right.
The true stereotypical Cheech and Chong. I only know 3 chords. and I had my success back then, and that's what made me think I was somebody.
Right.
Well, I moved away for about 15, 17 years, something like that. I lived in Colorado, and when I came back, it's like, I want to get back to that point. Mm-hmm. So I started going to open mics.
Right.
And I ended up at the 50/50 one night during an open mic. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting back at the bar having my usual refreshment, and I saw you play. And I was like, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew right then and there. I was like, man, this is the guy.
Right on.
This is the guy that I want to hook up with, that I want to write music with, that I'm going to have a future with. And I knew it right then and there. But all I did was introduce myself, didn't say a whole lot to you. And then we just kept running into each other in different places.
Yeah.
And then was it 5 years ago?
Yeah.
6 years ago, maybe, that I wrote a song, produced it. Don't Let the Whiskey Take Her Away,
which is a great song, by the way. Go check it out.
And I played that under the name of John Christen, Christen. Make sure you spell it right, otherwise you won't find it. And I played it for you outside the 50/50.
Yeah,
and you
I remember on your phone. I remember that. Yeah.
And you were like, "Man, that's great." And I was like, "Man, we should get together and do something."
Yeah.
And here we are.
Like there it was, right?
Here we are 5-6 years later, and we have a successful country band.
Yeah. In a hot market too.
Yeah.
In a hot market. So.
And we're kicking butt.
It's been a fun ride. Fun ride, man. And the reason I always gravitate towards people with whom I can have a conversation, right? Especially when it comes to music stuff, is if I can have a conversation with you about something meaningful, we can make good music.
Yes.
We can make good noise. And it was a little bit of a rough start for kind of both of us, at the beginning.
It was.
Because I'll be the first to admit that my skill level at that point was not nearly what it is today either.
Both of us have grown so much.
A bunch.
Especially in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And we went, I went on a cruise and wrote another song called Mexican Serenade. and came back, and because of the folks that I was blessed to be with on that cruise that are big names in the industry.
Right.
Immediately got a phone call from a studio, got picked up by Smith Music, got signed as an artist. We recorded that song, and I knew something special was happening, and so I called Mike and said, Mike, because when it comes right down to it, I come up with some good ideas, I come up with some progressions, but Mike is by far the best lyricist I've ever met. And I was like, Mike, we have got to get together and start writing some music, because I know that together we can make a lot of special things happen.
Yeah. And we have.
And it's
definitely
happened.
Have. Yeah, and the fact that we've been able to put out 2 albums in less than 3 years.
Yeah. Well, we got one of them's out there, and I'm kind of hemming it on. I'm dragging it's my
it's
bag.
Finished. We just got to get it out.
Yeah, I'm dragging my feet on it, but I think what we're going to do, and this could be a great platform to launch this on. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to launch 2 of our whiskey songs onto a CD, and also onto all the social media and media outlets, and we'll start there, and then we've got 3 more songs after that are already done and ready for release. One of them was written if I'm not mistaken, with you. I know Eric Fayard is an incredible musician and artist as well, and I know he wrote Lone Star, but I think you wrote Rain with him.
Yeah, I had some input on a little bit of input on Rain.
And and Rain is way outside of the Southern Oak Band's comfort zone, in that it's not a country song. It's more of a true, deep, dark blues song. And of course, that one will be coming out later in the year as well. So we got a lot of great stuff to share. A lot of things to still get recorded and still get pushed out this next year. But it's nice to be in that position.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be in.
Because a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was like, okay, now what?
Now what? Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, now we got to decide what songs are we recording, what are we doing, when are we doing them, how are we doing them, and who all's going to be and et cetera, et cetera. It's just it's a great position to be in.
Yeah. Now we actually have to consider, okay, we have 3 hours almost worth of original stuff. But we still have to, because we're not a national act who's touring solely on our own merit, we have to be cognizant of what still plays well in the local scene. So but we're in a position now where it's like, okay, we can really pick and choose those ones that we want to add into our set list as far as covers go. It's one of those things where you and I fought with it for years, and in fact to this day we still come. Well, I don't know. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Part of the nature of the beast, But when you don't have a whole lot of originals, you don't have a lot of your own material. You're scrambling to cram as many covers as you can into your repertoire. You know what I mean? And it makes you a better musician. Don't get me wrong. I think having to do that as a musician, getting your feet wet and getting in the door, I think cramming as much noise as you can into your head and learning how the theory of it works from song to song is a huge plus. But it's still a grind, and you're not grinding for you. You're grinding out somebody else's.
Yeah, and this is one of the greatest things about the experiences I've had with you, in that, when we had we had some differences a couple of years ago, as far as ideas, where we wanted to go, what we were going to do, but a couple of years ago we didn't have the original music that we have now. We hadn't had the successes with a song going number 1 on the ranch and being named number 3 top new group with TCMA, Texas Country Music Association, Monty Dawson, Linda King.
Thank you. Love you guys.
And the fact that they let us be a part of their world as well. Yeah. But now we're at a point where we're fighting with the old stereotypical industry in Fort Worth. Right. In that, if you want to get your foot in the door, you got to play country covers. Yeah. Okay. So it's like, oh yeah, and this is where Mike is so awesome. It's like, yeah, we'll get in there, just get us in there. We'll play our originals, and from there it will expand, and so far it has. Probably going to make a slightly different change in some of the covers that we do, because it will open more doors but it's that old classical. Just get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm. Easier to ask for permission and forgiveness.
Exactly. It's like, okay, well, you boys ain't playing enough covers, and it's like, oh, okay, but your people are happy and they're drinking. Yeah. Okay, so which way are we gonna go with this one?
We only got 3 songs left, bro. So,
and so far every venue that we've done that in has had us back.
Very supportive.
Very supportive. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you gotta. I'll say it. You got to lie a little bit to get your foot in the door.
Sure.
But once you're in the door, and you do a couple of George Strait songs, you do a couple of Garth Brooks songs, you do a couple of Waylon songs, and then you break into your originals, and it's like now you have it's like bread and butter.
Right.
You've set up, you've toasted your bread. Yeah. And now let's throw some butter on it. And, and it works.
It does.
It works. It works great.
We've got and even I talk about the gatekeeper kind of entity that still kind of exists today. Even though distribution, like I always say, distribution is free nowadays. You really don't have to pay anything to get your music out there. Thank you, Gary V. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different game, but at the same time, having to play. I shouldn't say having to play because you don't have to play anything. You know what I mean? You really don't have to do anything you don't want to. But understanding that there is a little give and take.
But for $100, I will.
No. And I'm still on the the Velvet Love Box train where I think what is it? Leonard Skinner's like $500 if you wanted to play.
Oh, and Mike, it's so true because every time I've gone to Nashville, they put it right on the front of their tip jar. Wagon Wheel, $100. Yep. Leonard Skinner, $500. We'll be happy to play it for you, but you know what? You're going to pay for it.
And that's kind of was going back to what I was saying. So when you go into a club and you get booked, and you play a whole bunch of originals versus what maybe they were expecting you to play, if the quality's good, they never mind. Yes. It seems, in my experience. Now that's not going to be true all over the place. So please, new musicians, don't go in there and just start roughshotting people. Because I've done that, and it can burn a bridge, But again, we've been blessed enough to know a lot of the same people in the industry for a long time. Ron Farrow over at Broncos, I've known since the early 2000s. You know what I mean? I've known Chris Smith over at Rhinestone forever and a day. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know a whole bunch of guys, Ned over at Shotzi's. So we probably do have
Keller Tavern.
Yeah.
And I can go on and on and on. And
so we may have a little bit of leeway because we do have a little bit of networking inside the group.
But we developed that.
Yeah, but it took time. That. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna toot our own horn here a little bit. Where we were when we first started versus where we are now, as far as the quality of noise that we're putting out, night and day. And the better we get, the less animosity we get for maybe not playing enough covers. You know what I mean? The more it's like, you know what? It's fine. Just come in, do your thing. You know what I mean? So it's a nice. You're right. It's a good problem to have. Yes. It's a very good problem to have. So you said you worked in restaurants, and of course I know that about you. You were a lawyer for a little while as well.
Yeah, I've dabbled in that.
And
didn't make me
happy. Cars. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of why you and I share a lot of the emotional connection to music is because we've shared a lot of the similar journeys, a lot of similar parts of journeys, whether it be cars or law or restaurants. We both did those for years and years and years and years and years, and finally like, I want to do music.
Yeah,
it's so much better.
If I tried to sit down and share with everybody everything that I've done over the last 40 years.
Oh, we'd be here for 3 days.
And you'd get to a point where you wouldn't believe me anymore if it weren't for the fact that I had the pictures. Because I've done everything from being a roadie to transporting horses to you name it, ranches, law, restaurants, manufacturing, Air Force, avionics. Yeah.
Run the gamut.
I've done so many things, and a lot of it's because nothing ever made me happy.
Right.
I would do it for 6 months, and I'd be like, okay, I'm bored. This is not fun anymore. I got to find something else to do.
But I'm so glad you said that because
But when I made that decision to dive into music, 8 years ago, and pushed myself into, I went from a 6-digit salary, to making $11 an hour at Guitar Center.
Yeah.
because that's how bad I wanted it. But I wanted it so bad that I made sure my bills were paid. I made sure that I was monetarily set to take that level of a pay cut.
Right, to take that leap.
And actually pursue what I've always dreamed of doing.
Right.
I'm in the same house that my grandparents built, and I remember being in that house when I was like 14, 15 years old, sitting in the bedroom playing guitar and wanting to play music, but fell into the peer pressure of, no, you got to do something else to be successful.
Right.
And I might be dead now if I'd followed that back then, or who knows what may have happened in my path.
Right.
But that's where my heart was.
Always.
And here I am 40 years later, finally doing where my heart is at.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for that, because there's a lot of people who spend their entire lives grinding away at something that they hate because they feel obligated to do it. And again, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I have an arduous job that I have to work because I got bills to pay. I got a family to feed. You know what I mean? But the thing that drives me and motivates me to do everything else outside of that is this. You know what I mean? Is creating content, making media, and making noise, and honing my craft, and being able to share it with people. You know what I mean? Because one of my favorite sayings in life is there's no greater waste in life than wasted talent. Right? Having something that you never ever do anything with.
So very true.
And my father drilled that into my head when I was a kid. He's that old school immigrant Italian guy, you know what I mean? Don't waste your talent, work your ass off, you'll get you where you want to go, and he was right. He was right, you know what I mean? That's why I work as hard as I work. And granted, I don't work nearly as hard as some cats out there that are doing even more than I am, and kudos to them. But the level that I can sustain at 43 is what I've got going on. You know what I mean? So true. And there's, of course, support system. Right? Support system is so huge. Such an important part of being able to do those things that you want to do in life. That like music and podcasting and all this kind of stuff. Right? So if you don't have that support system, where do you go? Right? Into your shell, back to work, grinding away, And I know you have an incredible support system as well. Mama Bear's just the best, the best. She every show out there recording, you know what I mean, shooting video, recording audio when we need her to, taking pictures, out there, being supportive 100%. And I love her for it. Has she always been like that, like through all of it?
No. I'm gonna be being straightforward. No, she's had her ups and downs, and she's had things to deal with in relationships. It's been crazy for her in that her last several relationships were not necessarily mental or physically turbulent, but the people she was with had health issues.
Right.
And so being the supportive person that she is, she was there for my grandfather till he passed. Right. She was there for my grandmother till she passed. She was there for another gentleman prior to that until, unfortunately, alcohol took him away.
Right.
And then my stepdad, who passed away in 2007, she was there for him through his kidney failure and dialysis and everything until he passed. So she's been through a lot of craziness.
Sure.
As
taking
far
a lot
as
of her energy, I'm sure.
Working her ass off and then dedicating all of her free time to somebody else, to caring and giving. So, now in 2007, once my stepfather passed, she made a choice, asked me to come home, and made a choice and supported me through college and law school, and then supported me in my decisions after the fact to go into the music industry. She's been there 1,000%. And the nice thing is I don't have any health issues, so I'm not going to die on her.
Right. Yeah.
But she's been there every step of the way, and 100% she's never missed a show.
Yeah.
In the years that we've been playing.
Never.
She has never missed a show. She's always been there, always done video, always done photography, audio, and supported us in any way and shape that she possibly can.
And that's huge. That's
so
huge.
It's made a huge difference, and my son's there for me, and my brother's there for me. So I'm very, very, very fortunate that, how many people, can you have a bunch of people come over at 9:00 at night, and make noise until 11, 12 o'clock. And when I say make noise, I mean like they can hear it across the street and down the block. And even though they have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work, they never complain.
Yeah.
Never complain about what we do. We're blessed.
Yeah.
Truly blessed.
Yeah. Just having the space to do it in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Period.
That's one of the hardest things for musicians out there, and I'm gonna back up a little bit and share with y'all too that Mike and I actually discussed putting together a platform to help emerging artists several years ago, and that it's tough. It's tough out there to have a place to practice, have the monetary ability to get the equipment to make the noise you want to make, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle, But there are so many folks out there that are so talented, that just need that one little opportunity to be heard.
Bit of support,
And they don't get the support that we have. They don't get the family that backs them, et cetera. So we're very blessed. We're very lucky.
Super blessed, and again that's part of why I built this. You know what I mean? I'd love to have Lincoln. I want Lincoln to be on here so bad I can taste it.
Yeah, I talked to Lincoln yesterday. Lincoln came by Guitar Center. And not to put myself on a pedestal, but one of the things that I go out of my way to do, because I've been fortunate to start building guitars, etc. I have a lot of folks that donate guitars, and I go and repair them and set them up, fix them up, and I donate them to Cook's Children's. I donate them to a couple of different churches.
Right.
And then I have a numerous number of kids that come into Guitar Center that come to me for advice. Lincoln's one of them.
Right.
Lincoln's an incredible artist.
Yeah.
The kid's only 18 years old.
I know, right?
And just now turning 18, and he's already making a name for himself in the North Texas area.
Which is no small feat. I mean, it's a saturated market up here for sure.
Yeah, but there's Lincoln, and there's Jackson Reddy, and then Ray Cazeta, and a couple of other, Jimmy Martin.
Yeah.
A lot of folks that I've been supportive to them because I've been fortunate to have the support that I've had.
Right. Right.
And they're all doing extremely well. So, but yeah, Lincoln just shared another new song with me.
Did he really?
Yesterday. And I was critical with him. It had its bumps, but considering the platform that he was able to record it on with the person that he recorded it with,
right?
He's at a point where he's definitely ready to go to the next level.
Right.
Get him a full band. Get him down into Fort Worth Sound with Bart Rose.
Yeah.
And get some true recordings done.
Get him queued up. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's writing some great music. He just needs that little extra icing on the cake to go with it.
And he's a quality singer. He's a great songwriter. Lincoln Swansea is his name. So go check him out. He's on Spotify already.
Yes. With
at least one track. I think you might have a couple of them up there. Just a great, real, raw singer songwriter. Kind of feel to him that really has that honesty to it. Because James and I were talking about this on last week's podcast.
Yes.
There's that kind of return to that raw, natural kind of origins music, and he is perfectly suited and perfectly slated right now to take advantage of that wave when it comes, because he is right there in that just, this is me and my guitar, and whatever happens with that is whatever's going to happen, and this is what comes out, and it's so true and so honest, and it's
definitely
good.
Hats off to James too, because I've never had the opportunity to go out to Last Call and do the campfire. Perhaps someday I will.
Come on. January 4th, actually. He invited me to host with him that Wednesday. So if you're available, we can make that.
What an awesome guy. An incredible guy. And
fantastic.
I look forward to the day that I get to actually meet him in person.
He is truly one of those diamonds in the rough. I've always called him Fort Worth's best kept secret. Because he's just a very unique way of interpreting music that is. Because he, at the campfire, doesn't need to pick, right? It's finger picking and that's it, right? And he's got this beautiful Martin guitar that he plays, and it's a big body dreadnought, and it sounds so amazing the way he plays it and what he does with it, and it's one of those things where if you didn't know it existed, if you didn't see it for yourself, you would be like, no, that was produced. Even though it might have been a live recording at a campfire jam, you're like, no, that's produced. He's so good, so good, and I really want to. I'd love to see him go boom. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's written some really incredible noise, but just a gem of a human being, 100%. And I'm very thankful for him for. Hosting that campfire jam, even though I know obviously he didn't do it for me, but the way it kind of worked out timing wise, it was just
and it's great too because he does the classic, what I call the classic circle.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to one of my other musical experiences back in I would call it the late '80s, early '90s. I was fortunate enough to hook up with a guy named Greg Darling up in Black Forest, Colorado,
mm-hmm.
And Greg and I would hang out of course, at this point in time up in Black Forest, there was only one bar.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Okay. And it was out in the sticks, out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So pretty much everybody knew everybody. Everybody, you were either in the clique and were taken care of,
right.
or when the winter came and you weren't in the clique, you probably moved pretty quickly because you found out that without the clique, you don't survive up there.
Right.
It's like living in Alaska in a way.
Yeah, legit kind of secluded.
But Greg and I would hang out at the end of the bar and play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, he did all the singing because I still question whether I can sing. But Greg and I, started doing that, and then it got to the point to where there would be 3 people.
Right.
And then 4 people. Then 5 people. So we went out in the middle of the dance floor at this particular hole-in-the-wall bar and set up a circle of chairs.
Right.
And just like what you and I or I should say what you're wanting to achieve in regarding to giving an outlet for artists, we just started going around the circle. And everybody played, but we went around the circle and each artist would pick a song.
Right.
So that way it didn't matter if you were a beginner, didn't matter if you were intermediate, it didn't matter if you were advanced, because everybody was playing the song.
Right.
So it was full, and it sounded great. And if the beginner made a mistake, nobody heard it. Nobody cared.
Right. Yeah.
And we just went around the circle and played the song.
Did it. Yeah.
And then when I came back to Fort Worth in 2007, it was like, no, you got to sign up. You get 2 songs, maybe 3 if you're lucky. You're up, you're down, you're gone. See you later. Bye. And I'm like, what kind of BS is this?
Yeah, and there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that.
And it's like, what happened to the good old fashioned, let's sit down in a circle and just make noise.
Right.
And that's what the campfire is.
100%.
And, and I wish I had found it sooner,
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to definitely diving into that because a lot of the upper level folks that I've been blessed to play with, when we go on a cruise, we go up on the 11th deck, and all of us sit in a circle,
jam,
and pass around the torch and play a song.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, that organic growth of a music kind of event, I call it. You know what I mean? Just a bunch of guys sitting around playing guitar. That organic genesis is where you really, in my humble opinion, that's where you really find out where true musicians come from. You know what I mean? It's not sitting in front of a computer screen with software up and EQs on everything, compressing the hell out of it, making sure that all this stuff. It's a bunch of guys drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, sitting around a campfire, picking on a guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
In some instances, trying to one up each other, but in a playful kind of a playful kind of gotcha thing. You know what I mean? Not in a I'm better than you, so shut up kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, and you end up weeding those guys out.
Sure, yeah. They usually end up not coming back
because they want that spotlight, and it's not going to happen.
Right.
So
you got to take it from some heavy hitters for sure.
If you're there for the spotlight, move on.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And we need to. We'll get you out of the campfire for sure. We need to do that. It's one of those experiences in as a musician, and Eric and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. as a musician, I always try to look for the little hot pockets of underground musicians when I go to a new city. You know what I mean? I don't want to go to the big bar where everybody goes to see the, that open mic thing. You know what I mean? Like, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I always gravitate kind of towards those small little spots where you find the real killers who are just doing it because they love fucking doing it. And it's the most incredible experience that you can have as a musician. And again, my humble opinion. It's the most incredible feeling you can have as whether you're good or bad.
Yeah.
To sit there and just kind of watch it happen without any no rehearsal, no compositional stuff,
and no judgment.
No judgment. It's
no judgment. Just play. Let the magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you whether you're good, bad, or indifferent. I'm here to enjoy what you have to share.
Exactly. And it's such a good thing. Such a good thing. Yeah. So where to next? What do we? I know we've kind of, you and I talked about it a little bit. Where the Southern Oak Band goes next. Now we're working on. We'll start recording album 3 here next year sometime.
Yeah, we're gonna get that done, and we're gonna, and it's still a rough market out there after COVID, and of course, you're still dealing with the venues want the sing along, play along.
Yeah.
Music. They want the tribute bands. They want the cover stuff. So, it's not like it was back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, you would go to a bar to see somebody because they were playing originals.
Right.
You didn't go to the bar because they were playing Poison, or they were playing Skynyrd, or they were playing, Guns N' Roses, etc.
Yeah.
You went to a bar to see somebody play original music. But nowadays, everybody wants the tribute. Everybody wants to live in the nostalgia. I guess in a way, in the nostalgia of the past.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really hard to find venues right now that support bands that play original music.
Right.
But it's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better, and I think that's something that might be a focus for the Southern Oak Band.
Right.
Is to break that canopy.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah,
punch through that wall.
Yeah, we're good. I'm going to give you a list of 40 songs that are covers that we can play.
Right. We're capable,
but that doesn't mean that we're going to play them.
Right.
Because we get there, we'll feel out the crowd.
Yeah.
And if we, depending on how things are going, I mean, every time we've, busted out the originals, I see people dancing.
Yeah.
I see people singing. And it's like, you look at bands like the Rolling Stones, you look at the Beatles, you look at Kiss, or anybody you want to.
Mm-hmm.
They started out playing covers.
Right.
Their originals were not openly accepted right out of the hole.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, they didn't become. Everybody thinks that they became an overnight success, but I forget who the author is for a song called "Overnight Success."
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about in the lyrics of that song how it took 10, 12 years to get to that point. And then he laughs at the end of it and said, maybe I should have just been on American Idol or something.
Yeah.
Because the overnight thing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It's all down to fate.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, right person.
Yeah.
And if it's meant to be, it'll be.
And the only way to get to the right place, the right time, the right moment is to work at getting there.
Yeah, well, you got to be out there.
Work at putting yourself in the position to be there at that moment. You know what I mean?
You got to be out there.
Yeah.
You got to be out there, and you have to remember the fact that being out there, if your true goal is money and fame, then
it's
you're
going to
not
be a short journey for you.
Yeah, you're not out there to be a musician. Prince was a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at some of these other
of
folks,
the first order.
They're musicians first. The success came second.
Right. It was a result of the time and energy they put into being good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, it in order to be good at anything, it takes work, right?
Yeah. David Grohl's a excellent example.
Yeah.
That man's first album, he played every instrument.
Everything.
He wrote every song.
Mm-hmm.
And out of pure devotion to his art, he did what his success came secondary to that. And now look where he's at.
Oh yeah, he's doing conference speeches. You know what I mean? At music industry conferences. I mean, the dude's on top of the world. Yeah. And from what I understand, he's actually everyone that I've talked to that I've run across who actually has either interacted with him in some way or interacted closely with him, all of them have said the same thing. Very gracious, very cool dude, very laid back, down to earth kind of guy. Which and honestly, I mean, to me, it shows. You know what I mean? I don't ever hear about Dave Grohl, shitting on some waitress or, you know what I mean? Or doing something crappy to somebody who's, you know what I mean?
So true. He's the guy that brings little kids up on stage.
Yeah. Some of those videos are so great too, man.
And he's not doing that for the publicity.
Right.
He's doing that because he really cares.
Yeah. Because he wants to inspire the next generation.
It does matter to him.
Yeah. He wants to be part of it, part of the movement that inspires the next generation. Well, I mean, and why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Because when he, grunge was his thing. His era was grunge when he first came out, right? And it was when with Nirvana, and even before Nirvana, I can't remember who he was with. I might be getting my bands mixed up, but either way,
a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, but the grunge genre again was that movement back to kind of origins raw, raw music from the super, high overproduced pop stuff from the late '80s, early '90s, right? All of a sudden, boom, we had Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and all these great.
STP, etc.
Yeah, some of that kind of crunchy alternative, what they call crunchy alternative rock, which I love to this day. I still have a soft spot in my heart, and I mean, I'll be the guy rolling in my Honda CRV with STP blaring out my sunroof.
That's it.
Sunroof.
And here we are right in country, but yet I'm still the guy that has both windows down, and you're going to listen to Metallica.
I'll run you from Jurassic 5 all the way to Glenn Miller. You know what I mean? I try to take it all in. That's been my kind of MO from day one, is take all of it in. Whatever you don't like, okay, take it out and put it over here. Whatever you do like, keep cramming it in there and see what comes out. And thankfully, it's been pretty decent so far. So I kind of want to hear. We've had this conversation before, but I kind of want to talk about what your perspective is on how the process has been from day one to now, as far as Southern Oak Band goes. Because everybody's seen it. We've gone through several drummers, we've gone through several bass players and guitarists, and a couple of different iterations. You know what I mean? Facebook posts change faces every year.
I've actually got a couple of friends, and I think you've probably met some of them at some of our shows. But every time I go out, I got one really great friend, Tim Carter, that I go out with, him and another guy we call Tilly. But I go out with them. We go see some of these tribute bands, and we look at them and we laugh about some things. We joke and kid, but every time I go sit down with them, first question out of their mouth is, "What version is Southern Oak Band on now?"
What iteration?
Is it version 1? Is it version 2.0? Is it version 3.0? And a lot of that is because we've been through a lot of different musicians, but you and I have stayed true to each other through the whole thing. But a lot of it's life. We'll be in a situation where we have a show coming up and we have a hole to fill.
Right.
So we'll bring somebody in. They'll play with us for that particular show. So it's kind of like a hired gun thing. Yeah. Or for a while we had a pretty well settled group.
Choreo.
As far as the first album, the guys that are on that album. Yeah. Great musicians, but there were just outside conflicts that left us in a position where one guy didn't work out, and because we chose to replace that guy, well, then the other guy decided he didn't want to be a part of it anymore, which probably is just as well.
Right.
And then if you think about it, here we are back in the very beginning of the Southern Oak Band. Our sub drummer at that point in time is now our regular drummer. Yeah.
Sean Wood, shout out.
And then one of our original guitarists that started out as a bass player. Well, did he? Yeah. Well, actually, one other guy started out as a bass player. Then he fell out, and then we brought this other guy in as a bass player, and then we brought him in as a lead player, and then we went back with him last year as a bass player, and now he's back to being our lead player again. So it's the Southern Oak Band's been a crazy ride, but I think we're finally at a point where we've got some solidarity into what with the guys that we have are actually dedicated to the project. Yeah, and that's what it comes down to is being dedicated to the project and not being in 16 projects. Right. It's okay to be in 1 or 2, maybe 3 projects, as long as you have focus on one.
Right. You got to have time to do it.
Because and that's kind of the way I look at it. Is I don't, if I want to go out and do something on a solo level, so be it. Mike, you go out and do something on a solo level, so be it. Right. That's fine. But when there's a show booked for the Southern Oak Band, I expect you to be there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because that's just, that's what I expect from a business side.
Yeah. Well, they spent 5 years building this thing,
But then you got to take the business side out of it, because are you there just to go through the motions, or are you actually emotionally connected to what we're producing, what's coming out? And I think finally, after what we're going on probably a little over 3 years, 4 years since the name came to be. Right. Which is a funny story. Yeah, that happened. It's finally gotten to the point where we have some dedication, emotional attachment, and we'll move forward, and we'll see where things go. Sometimes I think we may need one more person, and then other times I'm glad we don't have one more person. So it's just but we do what we have to do to play the show. Yeah. To share the music. And it works out well. Yeah. So
I think the really nice thing is that regardless of how many people we have, we can pull off a show with a 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 piece.
That's what's so awesome about it. We've played shows with 7 people. Yeah. We've played shows just you and me. Yeah. So I mean, it just that just the versatility. It's like, and I'll use a football team as an example. Sure. You got to have a depth chart. Yeah. You got to have people that can play when your regulars can't. Right. But you also got to be able to be versatile in that. Say, today I'm a rhythm guitarist. Right. Tomorrow I'm a bass player. And if it came right down to push and shove, I can carry a 4/4 beat on the drums. Yeah. It may not be a spectacular performance, but hey, we can get the music across and get the point across. And you got to multi. Yeah. Verse or whatever you want to call it, to make things happen, and that's part of the business. That's part of being dedicated to it. Yeah, is being able to change roles when you need to change roles.
Adaptability. Adaptability is a huge key. Especially because I didn't. I'd been singing since I was like 11. Yeah, I've been playing piano since I was 2 or 3. By the time I got through high school and into, we're like, oh, now I get to go out on my own and do my own thing. What music do I want to play? I said, well, you need a drum, you need bass, you need all the stuff that you haven't ever touched. You know what I mean? Musically wise, what are you going to do now? So, and the onus really becomes on you to actually sit down and learn it. One way or the other. Whether you're doing MIDI stuff to fill in the other, the bass line and the drum stuff, you're using MIDI. Okay, fine. You still have to learn the theory behind how all that stuff works with everything else.
And it's amazing. I was even thinking, on the way over here this evening, as a matter of fact, the fact that it's amazing how much noise you can produce with very few people if you do it in a manner where everything complements everything. Yeah. And there's no separation, because you've got the fill here, you've got that fill there, you've got this fill here, and one of the greatest things with our music, because I share it with people on a constant basis, is I'm always proud of the fact that when I'm talking to them, I get to tell them this was recorded live. Right. This is not 6 weeks of different days and different people and different things and different layers. This is live. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, well, I hear this guitar, and I hear this, and I hear this, and how many people are in this? And I get to tell them 4. Yeah. And they're like, what? Yeah. I'm like, 4. Yeah. Because you'd be amazed how much music you can produce.
Yeah. when everybody understands too.
When you're all on the same page, what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's been a great ride because of that.
Yeah.
Because that's something I didn't understand 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, we've definitely had to make the adjustment to, and for budget's sake, you know what I mean. I'll talk about it. Budget is a huge thing, especially when you're trying to get stuff recorded. You know what I mean. You have limited resources, especially when you're first starting out, kind of getting your feet wet. Now again, our support systems are great. You know what I mean. We both make relatively okay money. We can afford to pony it up every once in a while when we need to. But it still bears out that money is a factor.
Oh yeah.
So you have to get in, get it down, get the fuck out. You know what I mean? So we had to really become, which is really, and by accident totally, I think, is our rehearsal schedule and regimen kind of geared towards that. Because we normally go in, smash through it. You know what I mean? Repeat it until, okay, boom, go. And when I say, okay, it's go time, go, boom, it comes out. You know what I mean? Everybody's where they're supposed to be. So it really lends itself well to going into a studio where you have to, okay, we're on limited time. You know what I mean? We're on limited budget. Let's get in here, get this stuff smashed out, and get the hell out of here so Bart can do his thing. And Bart has been so gracious and so supportive as our engineer and producer. I shouldn't say producer, but our engineer, sound guy, and recording, mastering, mixer guy. He has been absolutely phenomenal. He's one of the best ears I've come across in the industry.
And again, he loves his art.
Yeah.
And if you come across to him as somebody that is trying, he'll work with you. Yeah. He won't be hardcore. Well, if you want that, it's going to cost this. If you want that, it's going to cost this. La da 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 da. No, he's like, hey, let's throw this in there. He's open, and as long as you're not doing some kind of the same old crap, he's been fantastic. Yeah. He's done more for us than I could ever ask. From any engineer.
100%. And he's again a gem of a human being. A very good person who genuinely enjoys and has a passion for what he does in the industry with people, and it shows. It shows in the way he interacts with people, but it also shows in the final product that he puts out there. And he's put some super shiny stuff out there for us, which I am 100% thankful for. He's been absolutely great. Now, recording. Right, so recording is the bane of most people's existence, especially young guys. And I've recorded with home studios that were in a bedroom where you sat on the edge of somebody's bed and sang to a microphone with a little thing on it, all the way up to obviously Bart at Fort Worth Sound, and Fox Productions down in Austin with the Bodark Band.
Greg White,
way back in the day.
Greg White at SG Studios, who basically got me into the game
that's right.
With Smith Music and got me started with understanding the difference in cost. And it comes right down to it. You think about the people that we're trying to help that come to us for advice. And I could be a total a-hole and say, well, figure it out.
Right.
Or I tell them straight up, you know what? Go to a studio, but use the appropriate lingo. And tell them straight up, this is a demo.
Right.
This is not a custom project. This is a demo. And wow, all of a sudden, you can afford it.
Right. Right.
So you got to use that right lingo. And then back to what you were saying with the recording and the home stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely a necessary part. I think of the learning process as a recording artist. You know what I mean? You definitely have to experience what people's perceptions of recording studio are to understand what a recording studio actually is. Because I consider this a recording studio, and technically it is. But I have 4 soundproofing pads on the wall, literally 4 12x12 sound, which serve zero purpose other than aesthetics.
And I have a box of them at home that I'll give you.
I need to line this wall for sure.
But then again, at what point, there's such a grand learning curve, and you think about the studios that I've got at my house. And there's such a grand learning curve of understanding what carpet does on the floor. Right. What soundproofing does on the walls, what putting a bookcase in front of a window. And this is cool because I mean we're not doing funny stuff, but one of the things Greg White did for me the first time that I ever stepped foot in the studio was at SG Studios with Greg White, and at that point in time, I had no business singing, but I did anyway.
Sure.
And one of the things that Greg tried to help me with was to find some emotion and to own it.
Right.
Even though it was a song I wrote, I was so nervous and so scared and so naive to the process that when you go back and listen to that song, I probably need to go back and do it again because there was just no emotion in the voice.
Sure. Yeah.
But one of the things that he did do for me is he walked me in the studio and he walked me up to a wall that had wood siding on it. Mm-hmm. And he said, now put your nose against the wall and speak to it.
Okay.
And I was like, her?
Yeah,
right. He goes, no, it's going to feel really weird, but do it. And he goes, and I want you to listen to the way your voice reflects off that piece of wood.
Hear yourself back and your organic terms.
And then he took me over to another wall made of brick. Mm-hmm. He said, put your nose on it and speak and listen. Then he took me in another room where it was all drywall. He said, put your nose against it, speak, listen.
Yeah.
And that was my blossom
epiphany
awakening into like, wow, okay. Now I'm starting to understand how sound reflects, how it creates the ambience, where you get your reverb from, where you get your hall space from. And, you got all these guitarists that buy all these pedals, to get the reverb and compression and this and that, But what you record in the room is affected by the room.
Right.
And you have to understand what's going on in the room in order to understand how you want to record it so that you get the sound you're looking for.
To offset what you're... Yeah.
Stuff I would have never had any comprehension of had Greg not done that for me.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So that's why, when you sit at home and do a home recording, you got to look at everything involved and not be critical.
Right.
Do not be overcritical. Every musician will tell you I'm my worst critic.
Right, yeah.
I sit there and record something in my room at home and I sing to it, then I play it back and I'm like, man, you sound terrible. You sound terrible. But then I go play it for somebody else and they're like, man, is that you singing? That sounds great.
Right.
And I'm like, really?
Right.
And how many professional artists have you heard say that they hate the way they sound?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, how many of them hate listening to themselves? Not because they are bad, but because in their perception of their own
voice is just like, man.
Yeah, and that's tough to get around. Tough to get around.
I hope I didn't take away from where you were going with the recording subject, but
no, that's perfect. That's exactly where I kind of wanted to be. Because when you talk about the materials that the room is made of, stuff like that, a lot of kids don't know to use the room. Use the natural noise of the room. Like you can hear the slight hum of this head unit back here, which is recording all this audio.
Yeah, and you can hear our chairs
squeaking, right?
And the biggest thing is I can hear the reverb in this room.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of reverb in this room.
Hard floors,
and you've treated it well. Almost perfectly, because if I was to record a solo acoustic song in this room, and to the point where the recording equipment was in another room, and I could just be here with the lights down and be relaxed, with just a microphone in front of the guitar to pick up the guitar sound and a mic hanging down in front of me to do the vocals, this room would be ideal.
Right. Yeah.
The resonance and the reverb and everything in this room is perfect.
It's been well harnessed. You know what I mean?
So, but those are the things you got to think about. You don't have to go to a multi-million-dollar studio, to get a multi-million-dollar recording.
Yeah, a 64-track Mackie is not necessary sometimes. Well, like the Find a Way video, right? That I put up on the channel a few weeks ago, right? That was done right there in that corner on a cell phone video. No live mics, no nothing, no audio recording. Just turn the thing on and let it, because the room is the way it is. It added a layer of effects that are natural because of the way the room is. That actually worked out well on the video.
True.
You know what I mean? It sounds pretty decent. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like the studio that I'm building in the back of my house is actually going to have a vocal booth big enough for a guitar and an individual.
Right.
But that vocal booth itself is purposely going to have a wood floor.
Yeah.
As far as within that room, and it's going to have a piece of glass, not because I want to be able to see you,
right,
but because I want the reverberation of the sound
right.
off the floor, off the glass, and I want to make it and there will be some sound treatment on the walls to help deaden some of the reflection, but it's going to make it an ideal vocal booth,
right,
so that it sounds appropriately. And then obviously the instrument part of the room, there'll be carpet on the floor, but that room will be covered in wood,
right,
because of the way the wood reflects the sound and the carpet will absorb the sound, etc.
Right.
I'm going to create a situation where we can get incredible recordings.
Right. Almost like a real short reverb, almost like just a real short reverb off the wood back into the
Exactly.
I like it.
In a tiny little 20 by 20 foot room.
Right. Right.
And it's going to be incredible.
It's going to be awesome.
But I wouldn't know that if it hadn't been for Greg.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that if it hadn't been for Fort Worth Sound. Think about when we go to Fort Worth Sound to record.
Mm-hmm.
All the walls are made of wood.
Wood. Yeah. Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah. And it works. It just works. Those guys, Bart does an amazing job over there. An amazing job. So you mentioned briefly before we kind of got started that you wanted to talk about the next project, a new project.
Yeah. So I have
next stage.
So on top of everything else that we do, like it's never enough.
ever
enough. So I've been having I've been in this dilemma for the last couple of months that, like I said earlier when we were talking, I can't pick up a factory guitar anymore.
Right.
Without looking at it. I'm kind of like the Terminator in that when I look at a guitar, I'm using a bionic eye.
Right.
Okay. And when I look at the guitar, I don't see the color. I don't see the brand. All I see is mathematical numbers.
Right.
And vectors and angles. And it's like, okay, I can, okay. And it's like, you get to the point to where, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of parts and build basically what we call parts guitars.
Right.
Which is basically what I've built for you.
Right.
And that, no, I didn't make that body. No, I didn't make that neck. But what commercial was that from years ago that we don't build it, we just make it better?
Oh, yeah. Was that BNSF? Or
BNSF, yes, yeah.
Or
BSNF,
BASF.
BASF, yes. Yeah, so I'm that guy. I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't make the parts. I make them better.
Yeah.
Okay? But now I've reached a point where I've been accumulating woodworking tools and experimenting with some woodworking and experimenting with painting and finishing and this and that, to the point where it's like, okay, it's time to actually build a signature guitar.
Ground up.
So, and you say ground up, now I don't have the equipment to make the neck.
Sure.
So I'm still going to part out the neck.
Right.
But as far as the electric guitar body, I've decided it's time for me to build my first actual body where I'm going to route out the pockets for the pickups, route out the neck joint, the neck pocket, et cetera. And when I came over here to see you tonight, and I looked over in the corner, and I'm going to ask you to go grab that painting real quick.
For sure.
I actually looked over in the corner of Mike's room, and it's like, oh my gosh, I sat in Guitar Center last week because I'm really good at turning around my guitars. I had nothing to do at work, so I was like, I need to come up with a guitar body to make an electric guitar out of. And ironically, that is exactly what I drew last week to a T. Now, granted, that's drawn as an acoustic guitar,
right?
But imagine shrinking that design to the size of a Telecaster.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to build an electric guitar body in that shape, but I want to make it a $1 million one of a kind.
Yeah.
So I have located a source to get exotic woods.
Nice.
And I can get these 2-inch by 2-inch by 18-inch pieces of Purple Heart, black walnut, aspen, mahogany, et cetera, all these different exotic woods. And if you watch some YouTube videos, you'll see that basically when they initially make a guitar body, it's out of a block.
Right.
And the average width of a electric guitar is 2 inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what do you know?
Boom.
These pieces are 2 inches.
Right.
So I figured, okay, and I actually thought about cheating and getting a butcher block cutting board.
Okay. Yeah,
it's already put together. That's 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 inches.
Yeah.
And using that as a starting point. But oh my God, they want like $300.
Yeah.
And also, you can't get them that big.
No kidding.
So I was like, okay, well, I got to scrap that idea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take these blanks, as they're referred to, and I'm going to build a block.
Okay.
And then I'm going to cut 45 degree, 30 degree, 15 degree angles into the block. Like actually cut the block and then put another piece of exotic wood.
Yeah.
To complete the block.
I got you.
And I'm going to make a guitar similar to an Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Yeah.
So that all of the lines that you normally see painted onto his guitars are actually going to be exotic wood pieces.
Get out of here.
So that it will have the appearance of an EVH.
Yeah.
But it won't be painted. It'll be a natural finish, natural stained guitar body in that shape.
No kidding.
That'll have all the EVH style of lines in it.
That's crazy. Dude, I'm so excited for that, dude. I want to see that for sure.
And then I figured I would go to the expense of getting a nice roasted, like walnut neck.
Right.
Nice dark flamed neck to put with that and put the appropriate hardware and put in the appropriate electronics.
Yeah.
It's going to be
screamer.
Amazing.
That's crazy. I love that idea.
And I'm the type of person, because I'm not looking to get rich. I'm not looking to get famous. A guitar like that would probably sell for $10,000
right
plus easily. I'm only going to ask like $3,000 for them.
Right.
Keep it simple. Because I want someone who's looking at a Les Paul at $5,000, or looking at a custom Fender Strat at $4,000.
Right.
Or they can come buy a one-of-a-kind, one-off guitar from me.
Essentially hand-built, more or less.
For $3,000.
Yeah.
And if you come see me or talk to people that work with me and you know my reputation, my guitars scream.
They are amazing pieces of machinery.
They're like, I can't tell you how many people call me up. They've nicknamed their guitars Butter.
Right.
Because after I've worked on them, they play like butter. I've had Les Pauls set up with string height so low that you can drop and I'm just not exaggerating, you can drop a feather onto the strings and it will play. Oh,
wow. Yeah. I love it, dude. I love it. Personal testimony. My Mustang over here, my little red Mustang.
So I'm super stoked. Yeah. This is going to be the next project, so that I'm build a studio / workshop, so that the Southern Oak Band has a place to rehearse and play,
right,
and record.
Yeah.
People that I see that want to get somewhere but can't afford it can come over as I get better with my engineering aspect of recording, and they can come over and record for free.
Right.
I just want to do it because I like doing it.
Yeah.
And give somebody an opportunity. They say, hey, come over, record this. We'll throw a little compression on it. We'll throw a couple of plugins on it, and we'll do this and that. And I'll give you my feedback in that, okay, well, the swells here. No.
Right.
Let's
try this over here.
But the solid background here, yeah. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. Right. It's not costing you anything.
Right, yeah.
Easy out.
Easy out. Heck yeah. So I'm excited, dude. That's gonna be amazing.
Because at 59, pushing 60 years old, dude, I'm ready to spend the next 20 years just giving back.
Sure.
And playing music and
and that's the right focus. That's the right focus to have. You know what I mean? I think people get too into, okay, what do I want to do for myself when I'm not 30 anymore, when I'm not 35 anymore. You know what I mean? When
my next 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink a little less beer.
Yeah. You know, and having a focus that's having an outward focus towards people who are in the spot where you've been before, I think is so right on. So right on the money where it needs to be, for sure. And that's why I hang around you. That's why we're friends, dude. You know, because we have a lot of the same goals when it comes to, you know, doing with our stuff what we want to do with it. You know. All right, so now curveball. You said you had a curveball, and I do. I am insanely curious about it because your curveballs are always, you know, 18 inches of breaking.
You know, so we've been talking pretty seriously here for the last however long it's been. I have no clue. I'm having too much fun. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you know, I got to thinking, okay, so I had no idea what to expect today. Yeah. You know, even though I've known you for a long time. It's like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Yeah. What's it going to do? What's it going to bring up? Am I going to sound stupid? I got to think of a curveball. I need to throw a curveball at him just for fun.
Come on.
And I came up with it day before yesterday. And I experimented with it with my brother today, and it shut him up.
Okay.
And the curveball is in regards to society.
Okay.
The last word.
The last word.
Why does everybody have to have the last word?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're saying, "Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great." Oh, that's awesome. What else? No. Uh-huh. Everybody out there in our society right now always has to have the last word.
Yeah.
And why is it? Why is it it's so important? And it's not just vocally.
Yeah.
It's text message.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, la-di-da. Okay, next text, and then the next text, yeah, okay, and then the next text, okay. Okay, this conversation's over.
Yeah, could have ended 15 minutes ago.
You know, and I'm just as guilty. Because I'm like, okay, there's the last word.
Right.
And then they send me another text, and I feel obligated. This is what's weird. I feel obligated to reply.
Yeah.
And why do I feel obligated to reply? And if I do reply, then they're going to feel obligated to reply. Mm-hmm. And at what point does it become the last word?
Right. Okay.
So there's,
I like it.
There's a curious little curveball for you to think about, and that, you know, and for some folks that's like super important to them.
Yeah.
They have to be the last
word to say. Yeah. And you know, my take on it is we don't have to say bye as a society anymore, right? Because we interact interpersonally so little now. Phone calls are kind of a thing of the past. Everything's through direct message or text message or Twitter or whatever. And there's no definitive okay bye. There's no okay bye anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I love about Sean, our drummer Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, that's and as a matter of fact, I brought it up to my brother today when I beat him up with it. Sean is the only person that I know directly that when you tell him something, he says, okay.
Yep.
End of discussion. You can text him back. It doesn't matter. He's not going to reply.
Yeah.
He says, okay, last word, done.
Yep.
There's nothing more to be said.
Yeah.
Let's not beat it into the ground.
We don't have to go back and forth 15
Just
minutes.
Just a simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. And there's so much truth to that too. You know, and I find a lot. Of course, being a vocal singer in ensembles for so long, you learn the art of back and forth, because a lot of songs are written, especially in choral pieces, back and forth, men, women, you know, high parts, low parts, whatever. So there's a call and response thing. Obviously, as a blues guy, most of your blues soloing is built around a callback kind of. So you get to you learn the rhythm of getting from having the conversation to okay, now it's over, right? And the over is a big retard, a decrescendo, a big hold, and right. And I find because that's been programmed in my head for so long, I am more than 100% okay with being okay. We're done. Cool. Gotcha.
Well, and what's so cool is one of the songs that Southern Oak Band's about to put out is called Whiskey Neck.
Yeah.
Phenomenal song. But here again, kudos to Bart, because at the end of the song, he asked you to start repeating the last word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a prime example of where that last word can make a difference.
Yeah.
As far as, it's so cool.
And it turned out really nice too.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a great addition. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of conversationalism that's been lost. You know what I mean? Because of technology. And it is what it is. Technology is going to move. There's nothing I can do to stop it. The only thing I can do is either learn to adapt within it, and live among it, or shut myself off like a hermit in the mountains with a shotgun, and a 4x4
truck. The troll under the bridge.
And I'm not opposed to it. I don't necessarily want to, but I'm not opposed to it if I have to. And I think that human disconnection, right, that we've experienced is why it's so people, because it's always like you always want to end it definitively. Well, let me as a kid of the 80s, you always wanted to end the conversation definitively. Okay, bye, I love you. Okay, bye, I love you, and we're done.
Yeah,
right, because you don't want to miss the opportunity.
But you're waiting for the
click, right?
And now we don't have the click anymore.
Yeah, it's just dead space,
silence.
Yeah. and psychologically, we have to fill the silence. We have to. So we fill it by sending a text message back to have them send one back to us, so that we fill the noise, fill the space. 100, yeah, I like that. Good one.
It's crazy. So, I like it. So I see the Southern Oak Band writing another song called "The Last Word."
The Last Word. Yeah.
And so you folks know that's one of the magical things between Mike and I is Mike being such the incredible lyricist that he is. I love it. I'll come up with a riff, and I'll come up with a storyline.
Yep.
Or a theme. The last word.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
And then Mike will run with it. And what do you know? We got Running Clear Whiskey.
Her Cowboy Man.
Yeah. Breezin'.
Yeah. Breezin' was a fun one too. That was kind of out of the comfort zone when we first wrote it too. And I was like, let me see if I can do this. And it turned out really nice.
So, but that's where a lot of our music comes from. Is just silly ideas.
Yeah. And that's where it should come from. The life around you. Life around you, For me, Whiskey Neck was about playing open mics.
Yes.
Traveling literally half an hour, 45 hours out of your way to go play 3 songs at an open mic just because you wanted the exposure. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the... And
you're chasing the drug, right?
Yeah, one of the things that people should be aware of, and take the time to listen to what we're putting out there, and maybe we need to figure out a way to put the lyrics out there as well, so that people can definitely identify with what we're singing, because we're obviously not out there on Guitar Tab anywhere yet.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people come up to me and say, all of your songs are about whiskey, and I'm like, no, they're not. You're not listening to the song. You're listening to the lyric, or as far as the chorus.
The catch, yeah.
But you're not listening to the lyrics. Our lyrics are solely based on musicians.
Yeah.
What we go through, the venues, the travel, the expense, et cetera, et cetera. So our life relationships with our spouses or anything. I mean, you got to listen to the song to really understand what Southern Oak Band's all about. It's not just about whiskey.
Yeah.
But then again, most of the stuff we've experienced in life is about whiskey.
Get around a glass of whiskey,
So it's not just whiskey songs. So that's why we could probably take this idea that it's just been presented this very moment here and now, documented, dated, etc. The last word. We can talk about society.
Yeah.
We can talk about a son and a dad.
Right.
We can talk about a relationship. We can talk about the end of the road when a loved one passes away. The last word can have a lot of meaning. So depending on how you progress through that lyric, you might hear a chorus in reference to the last word, but you need to listen to the verses.
Right.
Because that's where the story's at.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people listen to the music, they listen to the chorus, but very, very few people anymore actually listen to the verses and understand where the song is coming from, why the artist wrote it, what message were they trying to convey.
Yeah.
People need to start doing that again. They need to go back, because that's why your pop music is so popular.
Yeah.
Because they're repeating the same thing over and over, because they know that's all you hear.
That's all you need to hear. Yeah. That's all they need to. Yeah.
People need to go back to listening.
And I've been told that I'm quote unquote word heavy on lyrics, and that's probably true. I fit a lot of words into small spaces.
Yes.
But it's good. I have a lot to say, and I want to make sure that I get the point across.
But it's conveyed in a story, so that it's not like you're just rambling.
Yeah.
You're conveying a very specific thing in each and every line that you write. That's what makes you so amazing at what you do.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. Man, we're at an hour and a half already.
Sweet.
Just like that.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
And unlike Eric, I haven't had to pee once.
I know, right? I know.
Yes, Eric, I said that about you. Yeah. I did not have to pee once.
And you've had 2 beers already. Look at that. All right, guys. Thanks again for sitting down with us, John. Thank you for coming out and joining us here and sitting on the firing line with us and letting us and entertaining some faces with us. I really appreciate you coming. I appreciate all you do. You've been a magical touch in my life when I needed it a lot. You know what I mean? As far as getting me kind of out of my comfort zone and in the direction of getting this stuff, written out and then recorded and released. A lot of this, I owe a lot of the steps that we've taken. I owe a lot of that to you, and I am 100% grateful for it.
I appreciate that.
You guys go check his stuff out. Go look at it. Go look at the guitars if you want pictures and breakdowns of guitars. Leave a comment, whatever. DM me, text message, whatever.
Yeah, I need to get some stuff. I need to get some stuff out there. I'm finally feeling comfortable enough to start putting some pictures out and.
Right, exposing it to the world a little bit.
I got some pictures that might be able to share up on this podcast. Maybe not. But yeah, I've built some beautiful guitars, and I need to get them out there and let people know that that's what I love to do. Yeah. And I'm not trying to.
And you're exceptional at it.
Not trying to be a bragger, but I'm pretty good.
You're exceptional at it. I have loved every guitar you've touched of mine. It's truly a beautiful thing. With that, we're gonna close it down. We again thank you, humble, thankful, grateful that you guys have chosen to come out and let us entertain you a little bit. We hope that you guys have had a wonderful, wonderful December and holiday season from Thanksgiving, because we're almost at Christmas. We're a week away from Christmas, man. A week.
And for the first time in like years, I'm done. I know. I'm ready to go. My bills are paid. Yeah. Presents are bought. Trees up.
Amazon has made Christmas way easier, and I know people go, "Oh, Amazon, you're whatever." It makes life easier. I got a kid and a wife and all that stuff going on. It makes life. I don't have to go anywhere.
Nope.
I don't have to have people breathing on me trying to. No, I'm good. I'm okay with it. Y'all have a great Christmas. Spend it with your families. Spend it with loved ones. Spend it with people who you enjoy spending time with, and that if that means people who you normally wouldn't, then fine, so be it. Make sure that you spend this season with people who love and enjoy your company and whose company you love and enjoy. And if you don't have anybody in your life like that, go find one. Next year's tour is going to be called the Hug the Shit Out of Them tour.
Yes,
we're gonna do a show a month,
and the whole point behind that is, you know what? It only takes one kind word to change a person's day, or even potentially change their life,
whole life.
You know, one kind word.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of proactively encouraging people to do it. So. Go out there, find somebody you like to hang out with and hang out with them. Somebody that inspires you, somebody that's supportive of you. If they're not being supportive and inspiring to you, cut them loose and find somebody else, man. It's the only way to go about it. Other than that, guys, like, subscribe, share. Please like, subscribe, share. It's the only way that we can get the algorithm love. The only way we can get the tech gods to bend to our will, so to speak.
And we need to grow this to support the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Support the people.
Help us grow so we can help them grow, because that's what it's about. It's not about making us famous. It's about helping them get to where they want to go. Hopefully that, beyond where we are now, even though we've got it pretty good. And I want to make sure people are able to get even beyond that, with a little bit of help, a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of, pat in the ass and
and Mike, you're so awesome in giving and loving to the people and trying to share information. And if we can get the likes and the shares, and get some, and I'm not going to BS about it, we can get some sponsorships,
sure,
some donations, some backup, some support. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I donate guitars to a lot of different facilities for the kids that don't have the money.
Yeah.
I got a young man, and I know I'm extending.
No, you're fine.
But I got a young man right now that doesn't know that it's coming next week.
Right on.
Bless his heart. He's been in Guitar Center about once a week, maybe twice, struggling to learn how to play Smoke on the Water.
Right.
Okay, and we all grew up learning
sure
Smoke on the Water. And he's struggling. And then a couple of his friends came over and told me, and I didn't know this about him, his dad died this year.
Oh, God. Yeah.
His mom is barely keeping their head above water.
Yeah.
He's a 17-year-old in high school that's working 40 hours a week to support the family.
God bless him.
And they can't afford a guitar,
right,
let alone anything else. And he comes into Guitar Center when he has a half an hour to at least try.
Right.
So I made some arrangements with one of my other clients that I do a lot of stuff for, and we're giving him an amp, an acoustic guitar, and an electric guitar.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
so when he comes in next week, it's going to be like, dude, come here.
Yeah.
I got something for you.
Yeah, take it home
and that's what we love to do. Yeah. So again, the likes, the shares, help us be in a position to help people that are not as fortunate as us.
I look at it this way. You and I are fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're fine. I don't necessarily need anything. You know
Lord
what I mean?
blesses me every day.
Indeed.
I had a guy that was wanting to throw a guitar away possibly, and I asked him if he would help this kid out, and he point blank looked at me and said no.
Wow.
And I was like, really?
Wow.
How can you not want to be part of the Christmas spirit?
Yeah, touch somebody's life.
But I was like, okay. Yeah. And then I walked down the parking lot. One of my regular clients came in and handed me one of his guitars. No bullshit. He loves to get drunk. He drops them on the stage, and then he brings them to me to fix them. And he handed me.
John, help.
And he handed me the guitar, and he says, "If you can fix it, great. And if not, I'm going to throw it away."
Right.
And I was like, "No, you're not going to throw it away. If I can at least get it playable, this is what we're going to do for this kid."
Right.
And that's when he looked at me. He said, "You know what? You fix that one." He goes, "And I'm going to bring you an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar and an amplifier and drop them off so you can give them to that kid."
Dunskies.
That's God's work.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no other explanation for that, and it's a great thing. And that's being at the right time, right place. Right, it takes work to be there, and sometimes work is faith. Sometimes work is faith, and just saying, "Okay, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna put it in your hands. You do what you do, and we'll go from there." And he shows up.
Yep.
And he shows up. So stay humble. Stay humble, folks. It is the only way to experience life in its fullest. Stay humble. Happy, thankful, grateful you guys chose to sit down with us for another couple hours. SouthernOakBand.com, MichaelHenryMusic.com. If you guys want to help, specifically or in a very pointed way with whatever resources you can come up with, you can email me at michael.h@southernoakband.com. That's michael.h@southernoakband.com. Send me an email. Let me know what you can do or what you want to do, or if you have ideas on how you can help. Come on, we're here to spread. We're here to pay it forward. You know what I mean? Because I know personally, I was the beneficiary of some people who were very, very cool with taking a chance on letting me do what I did, or let me do what I do. So help us continue to pay that forward for the next generation of musicians. Because the next generation, I'm telling you, the next generation of musicians that are coming out are going to be those once in a lifetime or once in a generation or once in a lifetime musicians who come out with some of the greatest stuff that anybody's ever heard that changed the way that the music game works. It's coming. It's cyclical. I say, everybody who knows me, Everybody who knows me knows I say it. It's cyclical. Music game is like everything else. It's cyclical. You go through the super plasticky pop stuff into the origin noise, and we're making a comeback into the origin noise now.
Yes.
So help us help the people who are coming up with that origin noise. Help us expose them, get them exposure, I should say, and spread the word of good live local noise, because I'm telling you guys, it is coming. Stay humble, stay grateful, be helpful, be a leader, and as always, if you can be here, get here.